Hi, everyone. We're here at Ishmael Interactive. My name is, again, Aaron Myers, and we're here with Jason Lamb. My pronouns are he, him. I am a heavyset Latino man with a black shirt and a gray beard. Jason, tell us about who you are, why you're here, and what about it makes you happy.
Sure. My name is Jason Lamb. I'm he, him. I also heavy set man, white, pale, brown hair and beard. Um, I guess my title or what I do is I'm an engineering team lead at M&T Bank, focused in data visualization, and I guess I'll just call it employee enablement. And what about it makes me happy? I think there's a lot of things about my job that I really enjoy. But I think the biggest thing and probably the primary thing that we're talking about today is people, my team. I love that for the last four-ish years, I've had the opportunity to build a team, create the culture within the team, um, help young fresh college graduates kind of grow into roles that maybe they felt were too big for them. Um, and probably most importantly, like get to see the impact. I feel like that was something I struggled with a lot early on was, um, right, like I work at a, top 15, 20 sized bank in the United States. How can I do something other than just be a cog in the machine, right? And I think
Yeah,
that um, being able to kind of help grow people and give myself purpose that way is probably the biggest reason that I love what I do.
that is really interesting, and I want to really hit home at this and where it counts for our audience. When you say cog in the machine, the great thing about cogs is you can put a value on them. They are exactly this much value to the
Yes.
process. And you work in a very technical and disciplined field, baking. People think it's a unemotional mega institution, and they wouldn't have a
Mhm.
role that puts a value on humans as more than cogs unless it made business sense. So how do you place a value on that stuff? How do you at least value it in a way that lets you do enough to prioritize it and say this is true purpose?
I think there's a couple things. I think the first thing is, especially in technology, um, especially in the area in technology that I'm in, my boss, the director of platform engineering and operations, has made it very clear, especially to his managers, that it's not process or it's not automation or it's not outsourcing work or something that is going to revolutionize the bank and how we work. It's going to be those people that work at the bank that have a genuine interest in the betterment of the company because they are actually employees of the company, right? They're not contractors and stuff like that. So I think that there's a couple pieces of it. I think that from my side, how do I put value on it? I just try to be a person first, right?
Like that.
Sometimes you have to wear your boss cap. Sometimes you have to wear, the hat for the job, and it's not good times. But as much as I can, I try to be a person. I try to be understanding. What is it? Occam's razor, right? Like try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Um, and sometimes that might seem like you're kind of getting rolled over because you're just kind of accepting things. But I think that that's kind of where true leadership takes place, right? It's not the dude at the top who's saying like, well, I said 6 months ago that I wanted, all the A's turned into B's and the B's turned into cursive C's. So make it happen, right? It's
Right.
the people that are in the trenches that are understanding the work. Those are the people that like really have to humanize what you do because it's kind of like the Empire in Star Wars, right? Like the guys up at the top don't care. It's all about,
Right.
the rank and file and what matters. So, but I guess like to answer the question directly, like how do you place value on, I guess is the question, like how do you prioritize or place value on certain types of work? Is that the general
More on
question?
the effort you put in to connect to people in that human non-cog way. What makes you
Okay.
bubble that up to the front?
Okay. I think I would say the biggest thing for me uh is the recognition that everybody is a person first, and that um what's a good way to say this? So if you can connect with somebody as a person, whatever work you need to have done by them, with them, for them, whatever, I think they're just going to be a lot more understanding,
Okay.
right? Like if you treat them like you're a robot or they're a robot, like it's a service, you start kind of setting these expectations for each other. But if you're just willing to kind of be yourself, be, not, maybe a better way to put it is if you're not willing to kind of be a fake person in the sense of uh like corporate uh um well, my boss said I have to do this, so I'm just going to echo the statement. But if you actually try to understand and decompose these problems, um, I think that it is, I mean, I guess just to put it plainly, it's the most efficient way to get things done, right? Like
Okay.
you can
Yeah.
either bang your head against the wall, right? Swim against the river, or I actually have a really good book. It's kind of on this topic.
Yeah.
Um, I don't remember the name. I'll say the name. It might be wrong, and then you can put it in the link wherever.
Send it to
It's
me
like you don't send a
later.
duck to Eagle School,
Yeah.
something like that.
Send it to me later
Yeah.
and I'll add it to our podcast notes for
Yep.
references.
Yep. But it's basically it's the general premise of it is um, you know, let's just take it into D&D terms because I know it's something you and I enjoy.
Yeah.
You don't, you don't hire a commoner to go kill a god, right?
Right.
Like, so maybe you might be able to hire that commoner to do some other jobs that make sense for what they do, but adventurers adventure and commoners go
Yeah.
about their day. And so while there's room to grow as a commoner, until that commoner is showing the tendencies that they're ready to kind of evolve, like don't give them insurmountable tasks, right? And
Right.
so like I said, I'll share the link with you. You can
Yeah.
share it out. It's a short book. It's
No,
little tiny, maybe 100 pages.
I think if I understand your approach here, it's really just that it takes a lot of ego to think you could swim upstream, and that's the difference between leadership
Yeah.
and ego. Now we have a
Yeah. I think
lot
that's
of
a great way to put it.
yeah. Now we have a lot of people who are coming to this audience from the perspective of federal government. They're just starting to be team leads or they're starting their own business and they have to assemble that first staff. What would be your advice to somebody who is building a group of people to get stuff done for the first time?
Yeah. I actually kind of had to do this. So, my second year at the bank, I had just been promoted to a technical engineer 3 role, and I was kind of already headed into the realm of, hey, you're going to be running a team that's doing this data visualization stuff, and I basically got to do that. I basically got to go around the bank and kind of recruit and put together, like, hey, I'm going to have 4 spots for this team, and I think you'd be great.
Hmm.
Um, I think there's a couple really big things that I did early on that really helped set up my success. So, um, one, uh, identify first before you talk to anybody, what is the culture that you want in your team? What is the vibe, right? Do you want a team that is there every morning at 8 o'clock and leaves at 5 o'clock in the afternoon? They sit at their desks, they do their jobs. Do you want a team that's, maybe comes in a bit later, but hey, you know what? If you have shit that needs to get done 6, 7 o'clock at night, they'll be there, hands on keyboard, helping you out. Do you want a team that, is just kind of relaxed, enjoys joking with each other? I think that's step one, is understand what is it that you're trying to build, or what is, I guess, the culture that you're trying to build, most importantly. Once you have that, and I'm going to assume that you already know why you're building this team, right? You have a company, you have a tool, something you're trying to create. So
Right.
you're getting these people together. So once you've identified that product, that item, that whatever, and now you're talking about let's look at the culture. At that point is really when you need to start looking. You need to find your leader, right? Because even though you're the manager, you need a leader. You need your Chewbacca, right? You need that person
Right.
that you're going to say the sky is blue, and that person is willing to challenge you on that when you're wrong, and they're willing to stand behind you when you're right. And so, um, you don't know him, but he's in my Saturday group, Bryant. He is my Chewbacca. He is the person that, when all else is going bad in the world, I turn to Bryant. He is willing to tell me I'm making a dumb choice. He's willing to tell me I'm making the right choice. So you've understood what your culture is. You started picking people. And I think that once you get into the people part, you need to be very deliberate about your choices, um, especially in kind of that early phase. This can be kind of tricky, right? Because the graph of team building, right? Storming, forming, norming, performing, that whole little chart. So it's really hard to tell what the team is going to be able to do when they're storming, right? And norming and all
Hmm.
that, right? When they're trying to figure out what's everyone's roles. But red flags are pretty obvious, right? I would say when you see them, you see them. Um, so I guess, you know, that's one piece of advice. I guess the other piece of advice I would say, and this might be very specific to it, like a subset of people that are watching this. Um, you know, there's a skit. Somebody a long time ago was making little like WebP animated videos from Seinfeld,
Right.
and they would take clips and they would replace the subtitles with like technological stuff. And there's one where Kramer is explaining this whole super complicated idea, how he's going to move his website to the cloud, and because it's going to be in the cloud, he's going to have all these bells and whistles, and he's going to have a team of SREs that are like Microsoft experts that are going to support this thing, and it's going to be load balanced across multiple regions and all this crazy, like super technical stuff. Um, and then Jerry says at the end, "Isn't your website about cats?" Right? And so I think that the big thing is like understand what you need and when you need it, right?
Right.
If you're a startup, if you're something small, you don't need, oh, we need to be active across two regions. You
Right.
don't need, oh, we need microservices and blah 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 and like all this stuff. What you need is to get your idea out there to the world and get people,
Using
using
it.
it.
Yeah.
This was something that I actually stumbled with. The one of the things that we do, enablement of employees, we built a portal inside the bank, and the idea of that portal is to take, um hey, you have an old application, it's running Windows 95 and we need to get you to run in Windows, 22 or whatever.
Hmm.
um how do we get you there in a workflow that makes sense and all the right people are engaged? And so my team went and built this. um and to speak plainly, we kind of flopped on it in a couple places because we were so worried about the big picture that features that should have taken us a week or 2 weeks to push out the door ended up taking us like a month plus. And it's just because we were letting perfect be the enemy of good, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a
Um,
lot of
and
sense.
and that's probably the summarized like third or fourth point, whatever I'm on at this point. Like, right, like what piece of advice? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Right.
Um, get your win out, get people seeing it. Um, don't live in a place where you fear, well, if something's wrong with this, right? Like, oh no.
Now, I've asked you a few things, and you've given me some answers that sort of go down plan into other things that I had planned, but I would still like to cover them in
Of
isolation to
course.
make sure I have each thought. Now, we talk a lot, and we both happen to be big baseball fans. And one of the
Mhm.
things I love about baseball that is very relevant to team building is trying to fill those roles. You need a power hitter, a speed guy, a utility man.
Yep.
When it comes to constructing a team in soft skills, you mentioned the person who's going to challenge you. What are those other roles you're looking to fill? Do you need a leader, a follower, a devil's advocate? Is it big picture person, details person, a coordinator? What's your breakdown of those people that you want to make sure are in your dugout?
Yeah, so I think that there were two ways that I kind of took this question when I heard it, right? So there's the one side which is like who do you need? But then there's also the other side of this, right? Like who do you need to be, right?
True,
Because I can't always be the manager. Sometimes I have to be, I have to be the devil's advocate. So
right?
I guess what I would say is in general, the main roles that I look for in my team, there's actually a couple different ways to decompose this. So I'll decompose it in the way that I've kind of learned in my last five
Hmm.
years. So the highest level of decomposure is a disc assessment, right? So it's a circle, DISC. Um, Top left is D. Those are your like more dominant people. The way that I guess the way I likened the disc assessment, or it was likened to me, was imagine that there's a fire in another room. What is each person going to say? So the D, the dominant, is going to say, "There's a fire in that room. We need to get out of the building." Like I'm
Right.
just like no questions, no nothing, right? I is going to be just kind of like, hey guys, so there's a fire over there, and I know fires are really kind of dangerous. And so like I don't know what you guys are thinking, but in my opinion, we should probably try to get out, right? They're going to talk a lot. They're not going to say we are doing this. They're going to say what do you guys think, right? Like I have an opinion, but you guys have an opinion. S, I always joke about S. S is the quiet kid version of that. So the S is not going to say anything. The S is probably already left, or the S is like sitting there like, wow, you guys are all idiots. Like, why are we sitting here even talking about this?
Right.
And then the C is the one who's like touching the door, saying like, yeah, we have about 8 minutes before the fire burns through, so we need to make a choice. In my opinion, that way is the best way to go because that door is going to get us outside in 38 seconds versus that
Hmm.
door, which will get us out in 42 seconds, right? And so those are like the four high level buckets that you need. And I guess one of the things I try to do as a manager is make sure that I have every bucket covered for a number of reasons. Um, I think that D, I personally am a D. I'm actually like in between the D and I scale. And so um, sometimes you just need somebody to say, this is what we're doing. Are we going left or we're going right? We're going right. Why? Because I said so. Unless somebody here has a better option, right? Here's my reasoning for doing it. But like, we need to make a choice. No choice is not an acceptable choice at this time.
So,
Um,
peek behind the
so
curtain. Disk is incredibly popular in
yeah.
government. And my own
Okay. Okay.
designation, my area in the pie chart is basically the D
Yep.
slice. I have almost nothing of
Yep.
anywhere else.
Yep. Yep. The first time I took it before I became a manager, I was very DC oriented.
Hmm.
Because I was very much I'm going to do the thing and I know how to do the thing very well, so I'm just going to do it. And then once I became a manager and my job became more about connecting with people, it moved up and now it's like 11 o'clock if you look at the
Okay.
clock.
Yeah.
It's D, but it's like up at A, yeah, or up at I.
Right.
So yeah, so I mean that's my first part of differentiation though, is I try to make sure that I want a diverse group of people. I don't want everybody in a room that's just going to be D's yelling at each other. This is what we got to do. We got to do this, do this. Um, I always want to make sure I have S's and C's. Those are the big things for me.
Hmm.
I is okay. I feel like I's are more cheerleaders than anything. They're nice to have. They keep the tempo up,
You
right?
need
When
those.
shit kind of hits the fan. Exactly.
Yeah.
But in terms of actually doing uh, actually execute, yeah, the bottom part of the disc people, they are the doers, and they
Hmm.
do well. And so at that level, that's I guess the differentiation. Kind of at the level below that, um, kind of the roles that I look for in the team. I look for somebody to be a technical leader, right?
Hmm.
And I wouldn't say people necessarily have roles in the team. Like I wouldn't say like, oh, hey, Aaron, I brought you on because you're my devil's advocate. What I would say is I
Right.
challenge all of the people on my team to do the best to fill their roles. But like that book I mentioned earlier, right? You don't send a duck to Eagle school. You're not going to tell somebody who's, natively a devil's advocate to be like, hey, whoa, I need you to kind of back up on that and let someone else go. You kind of just let them cook. Um, and so I would say the big things that um, I look for someone to be a devil's advocate to challenge our assumptions. I guess this is also kind of a devil's advocate, kind of not. I look for somebody who wants to ask why a lot, right? They want to understand.
Right.
This is something that I'm very fond of is if somebody says, the sky is blue. If the answer is okay, then you failed, right? The question, why? Why is the sky blue?
Right.
Oh, well, here's this explanation. Oh, well, why is that, right? And until you get down to a point where there's a statement of fact made that you either have to accept or deny, right? Like we should keep asking why. And that's something I'm always challenging my team on. I believe that's one of the reasons that I had as much success as I did kind of rising through the ranks into my role
Hmm.
is that I never just accepted, you know, well, this is the answer. And I said, okay, that sounds good. Um, and I always kind of worked my way to get to, you know, why is this motor clicking? I don't know. Well, let's go figure it out, right? Because if I
Right.
understand how a motor works, right, then the clicking is a side effect of something that I can treat. I'm no longer treating the symptom, I'm treating the actual
The
issue.
cause. Yeah.
So,
That makes a lot of
yes.
sense.
Um, yeah. So, I'm trying to think what else. In terms of like leaders and followers, I think that it's one of those that, especially because I have such young talent on my team, um, I'm in this really interesting space where I guess is what I was talking about earlier when I said, get an opportunity to be in an uncomfortable position. Um, the people that I would consider my technical leads, as in like
Hmm.
they're going to tell you how the architecture works and all that. Um, 27 and 29, I think their ages are something like that. Right? This is their first job out of college. And it's just kind of one of those of who am I, who's just a couple years older than them, to say, well, you don't have the experience to do this thing. I'm a very fond believer of if you can show me you can do it, then you're doing it. So
Okay.
show
Yeah.
me, right? And they've done a great job.
Excellent.
Um, I think on my side, right, the roles the hats I have to wear are a bit different, right? So there's, I say manager, Jason, um, and that's more like the day to day, like execution of managerial tasks, I guess I would say. Hey, I got sent a report and it said that you're not coming in the number of days a week you're supposed to come in. Is something up?
Yeah.
Hey, let's
Do
go
your time
talk, right? Like
card
that kind of
kind of
stuff,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
That Yes, right. And then I think that there's just like no, regular everyday me, which is very much I see myself more as a member of the team than as their manager,
Hmm.
right? I want to be involved. I want to help, almost like a scrum master. I want, help me disposition in your work, help me make your life easier, that kind of stuff. That's really what that's every day that I start working. That's my hope that that's what my day is about is I'm
Right.
just getting to help my team remove roadblocks and continue forward. Um, Sometimes I have to be, the bad guy, come down from corporate. Hey, you know, you're not coming in enough.
Right.
Hey, you know, this took you 3 weeks to do instead of 2 weeks. What's up? Right. Um, but I think what really helps with that is because I'm so human with them, because I'm so maybe a better way to say this, or kind of a statement from earlier that I didn't say. I think that true power comes from the ability to be vulnerable, and that's one of the first things I did with my team was like,
Hmm.
I'm not Superman. I'm not going to be able to fix all your issues. I'm here to help. I love you guys. You're great, right? But I'm not going to know every answer. I'm going to have bad days just like you guys are. And as long as we all recognize this, right? Like we're going to have a good time.
I think it
And I
shows a
think
lot of
that
trust. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And I think that um yeah, I think that that's actually like the maybe that's what this should be, Aaron, is just I say 80,000 words and then you say like a sentence that that is it, you know? Because yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I
Yeah.
think that it's a lot of there's a lot of trust that goes on in my team.
Hmm.
Trust from my side that my team will execute, and trust from my team that as long as that they are executing and right like doing their job, I suppose that I'm there to protect them, to help them grow, to help them, blossom.
Hmm. So, we have covered a lot. I want to wrap up on just a few things. My
Mhm.
next question would be, we have a lot of people who are going to have to do this work. Maybe not as the entirety of their job, but they're going to have to play in team building. Happens in a lot of places. How does somebody get
Mhm.
smart and build the skill? What does team building school look like to you?
All right. So, I'll be honest, I don't know if I would recommend the Jason Lamb School of learning how to lead. Let's see. How did I learn how to lead? So, let's see. Um, Gosh, about what year is it? 2024? About 12 years ago now. Um,
2025.
I was working 2025. Oh, baby. 12, 13 years ago, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. I was working at a computer repair shop. This was before I went to college.
Hmm.
It was a 10-hour a day in a factory, not air conditioned. So in the summer, it was the worst. Sitting there, testing Acer laptops, making sure does all the things work, all the USB ports, right? And then putting them on a thing. And if they're not working, sending them over. Not a great job. Um, uh, and one of my coworkers one day said, like, "Hey, Jason, have you heard of Dungeons and Dragons?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I've heard of it, but what is that?" And I started playing Dungeons and Dragons online on Fantasy
Hmm.
Grounds. Um, and I think the first part of team building is being a dungeon master. I think um, that was probably where I got my first taste of like some level of responsibility. Because even in the funnest games, there is an onus on the dungeon master to execute a certain set of tasks, right?
Right.
Um, uh, uh, Especially I guess the way I play or the way I dungeon master. Um, uh, uh, I don't want to say it's authoritarian, but it is a lot more structured in the things that I want to do.
Hmm.
And when I started, I failed a lot, a lot. I don't know if Aaron, if you saw that the screenshot I have saved still of that guy who messaged me,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I've seen it.
But he was not wrong in some of the things that he said. But that was me 12 years ago or whatever. Um, and I think it's one of those that you learn as you go, right? You try something, um, you volunteer to lead that something.
Hmm.
Things occur, good, bad, ugly. You learn from them and you continue forward.
Okay.
And that's really kind of like my introduction to leadership is being responsible for, 5 to 6 players and scheduling, planning, etc., their activities. Um, uh, uh, so that's part of it.
Yeah.
The other part of it, I have not played in a long time, but I used to be an avid Arma player. Arma is the most realistic. I'm doing air quotes. I'll move my hand up. The most realistic army shooter that's out there.
Hmm.
Um, and so I used to play it, and people. It's called Milsim, and it's not yes sir, no sir army stuff, but it is, hey, we are a 6-man squad operating behind enemy lines, and like we do need to be able to communicate and all that. And I just kind of naturally gravitated in those roles
Okay.
to the guy who was willing to talk. If you've not figured that out yet, Aaron, I am the guy who's always willing to talk. Um, and so I think that having, at one point I ran a group of like 30 to 40 people,
Hmm.
right? And so I had a small community that every week was showing up to play this game for 4 to 5 hours on a Sunday. And it was up to me to figure out, like, okay, well, this is the mission, and this is how we're going to execute the mission. And I need to do this in a way that everyone who shows up is going to be engaged. Because in reality, that's what all this is about, right? You show up to play and have fun. So if you're not going to show up if you're not having fun.
Right.
And so that was something that I real quick learned a couple lessons. The biggest lesson is you can't make everybody happy always. And
True.
I think that's probably the biggest thing that every manager should hear is you can't make everyone happy always. And you'll have to make a choice at some point. Do I make my team happy or do I make my manager happy? And you kind of have to weigh your options at the time.
Right.
My manager wants this thing done in 2 weeks. My team is telling me it's going to take a month. Like, where is the disconnect, right? Like, can
Right.
we get this done faster? Can I temper expectations with my manager? Stuff like that. Um, yeah, and then once I got into the real world and started, working, I found I had a passion for teaching people stuff. The first time I went to college, I was actually going to be a history major, and I wanted to
Right.
be a history
I
teacher.
could see that.
Uh, and then I found out how much teachers make, and I
I
said, I'm
could
going to
see
go
that
into
too.
technology. I'm going to go into technology, I think.
Right. Right.
Attempt number two, I went back to college, knocked it out of the park, came to M&T, and I, honestly, I think from my first year at M&T, I had opportunities of leadership. I was helping grow Ansible. It's a relatively new tool.
Right.
At this point, it's not relatively new, but we had some engineers that had never heard of it, and so I had an opportunity to, my first year out of college, be teaching people with 20 plus years of experience.
Hmm.
Hey, this is a really cool tool, and this is how you use it. And I found that I really enjoyed that. And that's kind of grown to now, 2025. My team actually is actually in the middle of, I think we just finished week 4 or week 3 of training. Every other week, we run a training for a part of the bank to help people learn and grow .NET.
Okay.
So it's kind of one of those things, like, I'm very passionate about learning. Um, Teaching is my learning style, if that makes sense,
Yes. Yes.
right? Like, I don't really feel like I understand something until I've taught it to somebody.
So, in
Um,
that same way we've been echoing back and forth, it's
mhm.
finding a place to just do it and make mistakes. But your
Yep.
target, your North Star is keeping people engaged. Because if they're not engaged, they can't be a team.
Ex- exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
excellent. So I want to end this with the practice that we do at Ishmael Interactive, and it's sort of how we create a mental bookmark for the interview. It's something to
Okay.
remember, a goofy question to end on. It's the one for fun. And
Okay.
in searching for a fun question to end on, it occurred to me that there's a kind of question that is a thinker. It's not meant to be answered.
Hmm.
It's just meant to be asked to force people to think. My personal favorite is a hot dog, a sandwich. So to close this out, Jason, what is your favorite thinker?
Ooh, I got two of them.
Okay.
All right. So the first one um, is cereal a soup,
Love that.
and are certain cereals a stew? What's the difference, right?
Okay.
And then I think the other one, maybe a bit more lighthearted. So if you have to clean your vacuum cleaner, does that make you a vacuum cleaner?
That one I've never heard before, but I love it.
No.
So
Yeah.
we're going to end there. And thank you, everybody, for listening to us at Ishmael Interactive. And we hope to see you again.
See you guys.